Temos aqui connosco nesta edição do Vagos Aqui, o Klaus dos Ugly Kid Joe, um dos guitarristas e membros fundadores da banda. A entrevista vai ser feita em inglês e depois aparecem as legendas. I was introducing the show, and first of all, Klaus, thank you very much for being here with us, and congratulations for the Red Wings of Destiny. I really love the title of the album because
me too.
It remembers me, of course, Judas Priest album. How are people reacting to the new songs? You are already played live for since its release. How are people reacting to the new songs you have in this album?
Great. It's always interesting when you play new songs because you obviously our old catalog people know, like people that have been following the band forever, but you never know if people even bother to buy the new record or listen to it. And it's usually a pleasant surprise when you play a new song and people know the words and sing along, and you're like, oh, okay, so people actually listened to it and studied it and learned it. And yeah, so the reaction's been great. And so it's really fun to play a new song, and sometimes we get nervous. You get nervous a little when you play a song for the first time, but it's been great.
I think it's the sixth time you come to Portugal. It will be your seventh show you're in our country. Wow. Do you have any special memories, any memory from a previous show you had in Portugal? Anything that's stuck in your mind? Yeah.
Yeah, in 1992 we played in Cascais, I think it's called, with Def Leppard, and it was a small arena, and it was up until that point of our careers. Our short career, it was the greatest show we ever played. It was insanely, the crowd was so loud that I remember we were playing Neighbor. It was like our first song. And in the part of the song where where the music stops and Whit says, "Won't you be my," the crowd said it so loud that it was actually louder than our stage volume. It was so, we were like, whoa, like almost fell over. And I look at Mark and I remember being like, oh my God, like we're like the Beatles. And that was insane.
Did you have the time to know our country besides playing the gigs?
Yeah, we actually we spent a little time in Lisbon. You have the bridge that looks like our Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco.
San Francisco, yeah.
Whoa, it's like beautiful city, wonderful times. We spent a few days there, and then, like I said, Cascais. I think it's how you pronounce it. It's like
Cascais.
Okay, we had a few days there, and I remember Dave and I rented scooters or mopeds, Vespas, something like that, and we drove up and down the coast. And you know what? Well, first of all, Portugal is amazing, and it reminds me of California. It's really similar. The geography. I was like, wow, this could be the Central Coast here in California. I mean, it's like, it's really, and I think obviously you have a lot of surf culture. I'm assuming skate culture too, and so it just kind of reminded me of where we're from.
Yeah, it's usually not the first time I hear it, because we are like the California of Europe, because it's near the ocean.
Yeah.
Getting back a little in time for. I think that the story how the name Ugly Kid Joe appeared, I think is hilarious. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Can you tell us, for the people that don't know the story, how did you came up with the Ugly Kid Joe?
Yeah, we actually were, at the moment, we didn't have a name. We had just been doing gigs. We were like right in between names. We got rid of our old name. We were trying like a new name here and there. And so we didn't really have a name at that exact point, but a guy who was the booking agent or the guy that booked the club in town, he called and said to Whit, "Hey, you guys, we got a band coming through. It's like a big, major label band, and they need an opening act. So I thought of you guys. Can you guys do it?" And we're like, "Yeah, we'd love to. A national act." Ooh, and so we didn't have a name at the time. So he's like, "Well, what should I put you on the bill as?" because I need you guys to have a name, obviously. You know, and we said, what's the band we're playing with? And he said, Pretty Boy Floyd. And I said, okay, maybe we couldn't think of a name. We were literally like, give us a day to think of it. He said, no, you have to tell me now what your name is, because I've got to do this now if you want to get this gig. So we pretty much, I think within an hour, called him back, I said something dumb like, well, let's just be, for this show, we'll be Ugly Kid Joe opening for Pretty Boy Floyd. And that would be the kind of the joke, right? And we thought, haha, we'll do it for this one show, and it'll be that show we'll all remember as the show we were Ugly Kid Joe at, because we were opening for Pretty Boy Floyd. And so he put it on the marquee and everything. And then the show ended up getting canceled and never happening, but we kept the name.
It's a fantastic story. Mm-hmm. Still back in time a little bit, I did a bunch of kids from California, from Palo, reacted to the success of Cats in the Cradle, of everything I admired about you. How did you react? Being so young and having just a major success. In your first answer, you told me you were surprised with the reaction of the Portuguese crowd in Cascais when they started singing that part of Neighbors. How did you react? Getting a little bit back in your memories.
You know, a lot of it seemed kind of unreal, because we were touring a lot of that time when it was all kind of happening, when Everything About You was becoming a radio hit and an MTV hit. We were out on tour. And so we were like, we'd hear, remember, this is before internet and cell phones, so we didn't know. We weren't really following it, but we kept hearing, you know, we'd get a phone call every few days from the label or whatever. Hey, the song's picking up on this and such a station. And, you know, you're going to notice it probably, because people know who you are now. And we're like, yeah. And then what really hit us was when we drove up to, we were opening for Scatterbrain. So we were just the opening band, and we showed up at we played some club shows where literally there was like 60 people. I mean, one show there was 3 people. So it was just a hit and miss tour. And all of a sudden we drove up to this club, and we see this huge line of people going around the block. And we figured, oh, something's going on. Maybe it's some kind of a vote here in this county or something. And someone's like, wait a second, they're wearing like Ugly Kid Joe shirts. Those are like rock. They're for us. This line around the block, like that's when we were like, oh, so something is happening out there on the airwaves and on the TV. And that was the first time we really noticed, like, oh my God, we're like kind of a real band now.
Yeah, I remember here in Portugal, everything about you was playing all the time in radios, all the time in TV. Was really amazing back then. You already played live in the most important metal festivals in Europe, like Hellfest, Graspop. You'll still play more now this August. Do you feel comfortable to play with more extreme bands than Ugly Kid Joe?
Yeah, we sometimes joke about that a little, because a lot of people know us for Cats in the Cradle and Everything About You, not exactly heavy metal, power metal songs. But most of our catalog is hard rock, heavy metal, and we've always, you know, done metal gigs even back then. I mean, we were toured with Ozzy and Motorhead, and it went great. And so we have we have the catalog to be on a heavy metal festival, no problem. And for us, it's great, because it's like, especially nowadays, every festival, at least there's one band that I really love that I get to go see. You know, like we're playing with Megadeth soon, and that was one of my favorite bands growing up. So, you know, we played with so many great bands. I mean, Guns N' Roses, The Cult, Scorpions, and, you know, so being on metal festivals is great, because it's like our childhood dream to play with our heavy metal heroes.
You ended recently a long US tour promoting this new album. Which are the main differences between the European crowd and the North American crowd for you?
You know what? Honestly, I would think in terms of the crowds, not much. It was actually really refreshing, because we'd been so used to playing Europe. We had no idea what an American crowd was like anymore. We hadn't played here barely in 20 something years. So it was really cool to see that it's kind of, it sounds cliche, but it's like the universal language of music. It's like people go to a concert, they have fun, they sing, and it didn't feel that much different. You know, the only thing that was different was where we were. But the crowds are very similar. I think I would say that like South American and Southern European crowds are a little wilder than most, like Portuguese and Brazilian, and they're a little wilder. But Americans get pretty crazy too, and so do the Germans. It just depends where you are. But yeah, and one thing I did notice that you seem to have a little more diverse festivals in Europe, where there will be a band like Ugly Kid Joe and then Sepultura on the same bill. And in the US, I think they try to kind of pigeonhole things more a little bit, but I don't know. I think in terms of crowds, it's very similar, and they're all great.
Don't you get tired of playing Everything About You and Cats in the Cradle?
No.
You feel how Deep Purple feels with Smoke on Water, or Metallica feels with
that's one of the first riffs I ever learned, Smoke on the Water.
Yeah.
So no, you get tired because we realize we wouldn't be here without those two songs, and again, going back to what I was saying about the crowd response, when you play a song everybody knows and they sing it back to you, you're like, okay, that's why a lot of people came here. They wanted to hear the hits, they want to hear the big songs, and so you never, you don't get tired of it. It's actually Cats is one of our harder songs to play because it is such a non-heavy metal song. 85% of what we do is just kick, snare, and heavy guitar. Cats, we have to really have more of a feel, and luckily Whit always sings it great. He's been singing it since he's 10 years old, so he's had a lot of practice, so he sings it great, and so we pull it off. But it's it. You want to play the parts clean. You want it to sound as much like the record as you can.
I've seen you live last time in Aqui, at Vagos Metal Fest. I don't know if you remember that those umbrellas with colors.
Yes, I totally remember. That was an amazing show.
Yeah, fantastic show. I loved it, and it was funny because a lot of people were since the beginning play Everything About You, play. You're asking. It's a funny thing. What people can expect from Ugly Kid show in Vagos?
I think for the most part, we have pretty good energy, and we really enjoy what we do when we're up there, and we all get along as friends and as musicians. And I think you'll find that we'll have fun with you, with the crowd, and we love it. We love doing it.
We are very focused here in Caminhos Metálicos, promoting Portuguese bands. You know any Portuguese band?
I don't know anything. I know Judas Priest, AC/DC, Motley Crue. I don't know. I couldn't name a new band from the last 10 years. I'm terrible. I'm just an old-fashioned guy that listens to AC/DC.
You'll see a few of them in Vagos, I hope. Now, find a message to the people that are still having some doubts to see Ugly Kid Joe live in Vagos.
Doubts. We'll play Everything About You and Cats in the Cradle. Don't you want to hear the hits? And like I said, we are. I think we're a solid band, and we really love what we do.
Well, Klaus, thanks a lot for being here with us, promoting this show on the 5th of August, on the 4th of August in Vagos Metal Fest. Is a few weeks from now. So thank you, and we'll see you. We'll see each other in
Obrigado.
De nada. Bem, eu fico aqui a conversa então com o Klaus do Ugly Kid Joe. Ele está a tomar um pequeno almoço, porque agora a diferença de horário é muito grande. E então até o próximo episódio aqui do Vagos Aqui. Muito obrigado.